Hello and welcome to Fins from the Top, where this time I'm joined by Jeff Lewis, the CEO of Raytheon UK. He's also the Vice President Defence on the ADS board. Jeff, it's great to have you here. Thanks very much for chatting to us. Can you first kick off? What role does the ADS Defence Sector Board play in the sector growth?
So the Defence Sector Board in ADS is the element of ADS that represents the defence industry. So all the member companies that have a role and an interest within defence use the opportunity to feed up their voices, working closely with myself, because as you said earlier, I'm the Vice President of that sector. But we've got an executive group. We work with all of that group across the community to ensure that we have an understanding of the shared challenges that we all face, whether they be around people and skills, whether they be around supply chain. So, there's the work that we can do together, but also the DSB brings that all together to ensure that we provide a collective and single voice to government, and specifically the MOD and the Ministry of Defence, around the things that are of mutual interest to both parties.
How have you then been able to use your role on the ADS board to champion small businesses, particularly in the defence sector?
Everybody thinks about the defence sector and they think about the large companies. I work for one of the largest aerospace and defence companies in the world, but the sector is predominantly made up with a number of small and medium enterprises. So it is incredibly important that we hear their voice, because quite often, alongside the larger companies, they provide that ability to innovate in a much more agile way than some of the larger organizations. And it's our role to ensure that they have an equal voice within the sector. And I think we do that quite successfully. They sit on all the committee meetings and the board meetings that we have, and we ensure their voice is heard alongside those larger prime contractors. It is exciting when you listen to how small businesses grow, and you talk to some of the owners, because their owner MD sometimes in how they operate these businesses, and you listen to the things that they try to do, the technologies that they can bring to market. Not all of them want to be bought by a private equity firm or a big prime contractor. They want to give back, they want to develop technology, and they want to ensure that it's used in a really good way. And they, going back to some of the things that we discussed earlier, they also provide all those local jobs.
Now, over the last 12 months, the instability around the world is evident for everyone to see. How has that instability maybe had an effect on the defence sector specifically?
It's interesting. I always think of it three main ways. It's impacted our employees, because they've been really impacted on how that conflict has impacted the cost of living and inflation. So that's had a huge impact on the way that we operated. We've seen some real supply chain problems across the sector. And we've also, in parallel to that, we've seen an increase in demand. So we've got an increase in demand, we've got supply chain problems, and some employees that are finding it quite difficult to live in the current environment. So what I've seen from the sector, though, is that ability to innovate. So sometimes I go in on a Monday and I have a whole list of the issues that we're facing in terms of deliveries that we need to make to our customers worldwide. And then I find by the Friday, a team will come back to me and say, we've resolved 15 of those 20 issues and we're going to work on the next 5 next week. So what I've seen is an adaptability and an agility across the entirety of the sector to deal with the issues that we're being faced, to ensure that we can continue to deliver to all our customers, to ensure that our national security stays assured.
Now, inclusion and diversity are key to any successful business, but there's a fair bit that needs to be done in the defence sector and defence industry. How has the landscape changed over the last few years, and what tools do you have at your disposal to speed up this process?
So diversity and inclusion, or diversity, equity and inclusion, as we call it within the Raytheon businesses, is important to the sector, because we have a challenge across the sector, because less than 5 minutes into any conversation I'll be having a defence sector board within the ADS, or if I meet any of my peers across a meeting, we will soon get down to people and skills. We're all short of people. And in reality, if we could get a broader group of people to join this sector, a more diverse group, we're going to help that people and skills challenge that we have across the sector. The sector has had challenges in that it's not naturally seen somewhere where a diverse group of people will want to join. So if you went to any industry event, it's getting better and it's improved over the last 5 years, but it's still not a reflection. I always use this analogy. When I go down my local restaurant on the weekend, I go down my local pub, it looks like a reflection of my local community or or a small window on GB. When I go to a defence community, it doesn't appear like that to me. So there is plenty to be done. But I think, as in all businesses, the first thing you need to do is you've got to acknowledge that you need to make some changes. You've got to measure where you are, and you have to put some actions in place. And what I've seen, not just within my own Raytheon business, but I've seen across all my counterparts across the entirety of the defence sector, and it does get discussed at the ADS board as well. We've discussed how we can all move forward. So we all acknowledge things can improve. Now, some of the things that are available at my disposal is, alongside the work that I do within the defence sector board at ADS, alongside the work that I do as the CEO of Raytheon within the UK, I also I'm part of the executive group within the DSF, the Defence Suppliers Forum. And as part of that, I sit as a working member of the People and Skills Group. And as a sub-part of that, I co-chair with an industry counterpart, Richard Berthen of the MOD, the D&I group. So Richard and I are working together, and one of our initial ideas is to develop a covenant, an agreement that both the MOD and industry can have a set of commitments, a set of principles that we can sign up to collectively and move forward, so we can move D&I forward across the entirety of the sector.
What about access to skills then? Access to skills is another big challenge in the defence industry. So what would help ease any bottlenecks that emerge?
Again, it's probably one of those topics that keeps me awake once or twice a week. People skills, how are we going to get the quantity of people that the sector needs to deliver against the increasing demands that we're facing from all of our customers, not just in the UK, but worldwide. So I think we talked about diversity and inclusion, and that's part of it, but STEM is another part of that. And I think we've got to work on how we encourage more people at a younger age to get interested in science, technical and engineering and mathematics, so they can add more to our sector. We've got more technical people available, more engineers available to join our sector. And then when we get them interested at that young age, we've got to encourage them to transition into industry either via apprenticeships, via graduates or experienced hires into our sector and remain there. And I'm an optimist. I'm 100% convinced if we can get people to join our sector, they'll remain. The challenge is to get them to join our sector and see it as an exciting future career for everyone as they move forward in their own lives.
Well, you know what, Jeff, you are proof that apprenticeships work and that people can achieve very, very impressive things. So thank you very much indeed for talking to us. It's been a real pleasure.